sending on your mail. Should I send on your mail or?
Yeah, you can send on email. I can try from there.
Are we ready to start?
Just 1 minute. Just a minute. I am sending my PPT to her. Just a minute.
Okay.
Anju, I'm sending. Hope it reaches. Check your mail. And Mansi,
Okay.
I've sent you also on your WhatsApp.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Manju, just check and send me the message
Yeah,
on
I'm checking.
WhatsApp.
I'm waiting.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
I haven't received yet.
Maybe in 1 or 2 minutes. We can, Mansi, we can start. Na? Shaista will be joining in 1 or 2 minutes, na? Because she is the last one.
Okay, ma'am. Is Professor Sumita Parmar here? Has she joined?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Shamidi,
Yeah,
not yet.
Ma'am, Shaista has also joined from her daughter's account.
Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Nice to see you, Shaista.
Same here, ma'am. After a long time.
Yes.
Shamidi, I haven't received. Sorry. Not yet.
I'll send again.
Yeah.
Shaista,
And which
you
one?
must have
Manju
on your
Khan
email.
Poet.
Can you send? I'll send again. Okay, I'll send again. Mansi, can we start?
Sure, ma'am. Sure. Thank you. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to yet another session of a wonderful course on gender studies. And today we have something very interesting for you in the store. Today we are going to discuss the gender stereotypes, and for that we have a very learned, rather, I would say, esteemed scholars are going to discuss this topic today with you. And in the earlier sessions, we have already discussed how law, how literature, and how gender is portrayed in different, ways, in different manners in our society, and what all effects we can see on a particular gender. Say, if you're a female, how law affects you. If you're a male, how law affects you. If you're a transgender, how law affects you. So there are various ways in which people represent themselves in the society, in various ways in which they are protected in the society, and also various ways in which they are portrayed in the society. So today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic, and this is going to be the last session of this course, after which you will have that assessment session next week. So I have this privilege of introducing the speakers today. Our esteemed guest, Dr. Sumita Parmar, has joined us today. She is a very senior literature enthusiast, and she has retired as a professor from the Department of English and European Languages, University of Allahabad. A senior Fulbright fellow, Dr. Sumita has extensively worked on Black feminist criticism with eminent Black feminist scholar and critic Professor Barbara Christian from University of California. Dr. Sumita was founder and first director of Center for Women's Studies, Allahabad University in 2010. Professor Parmar has contributed writings to various journals and books, and she has also presented research papers, of which many are notable. She has also worked as an editor for several journals of women's studies. The Ministry of Human Resource Development India had appointed her as principal investigator for postgraduate course on women's studies under the Project E Pathshala. Dr. Parmar had efficiently convened the first gender sensitization workshop of High Court of Allahabad She continues to make relentless efforts in the direction of gender equality through her writings and speeches. We are delighted to have you here today with us, madam. Looking forward to your insights on the stereotyping of genders. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you very much, Mansi, for that introduction. So, shall I start or you have to?
It's indeed a privilege for me, ma'am. Please, we are looking forward to hear from you.
Okay, so I'll just share a few thoughts with you because Shaminaz told me, ma'am, for 10 minutes. So in 10 minutes, whatever I can share with you, I will do that. Just a few thoughts on the subject of gender. Let me start first of all by looking at the position of women.
Everybody is requested to please mute their microphones before we hear from the speaker. Thank you. Ma'am, please
Ma'am,
proceed.
your mic is
Yeah.
muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I'll start again. Just sharing a few thoughts on gender with all of you. I have been instructed by Shaminaz to speak for about 10 minutes. So I'll try and pack in as many ideas as I can during that time. Let me first of all start with comparing the position of women with men globally. Now, globally, men constitute 50.4% of the population, and women constitute 49.6% of the population. And research tells us that more than 60% of the goods and the services of the world are provided by women. But when you look at their ownership of resources, then we find that they have only a very small portion, a minuscule 3% ownership of these resources, in spite of being such active contributors to the world's work. So that is an interesting statistic to think about. All over the world, whether it is government, whether they are parliaments of the world, including the American Congress, whether they are professions, whether there are courts of law in the world, everywhere you look, you find that women are a minority. If you look at our own country, India, in our Lok Sabha this time, our parliament, there are only 14% women. And in the legislative assemblies, only 9%. And India's position in the GDI, that's the Gender Development Index, India's position is 127. It was 127 last year, it's 129. We have gone down 2 points this year. So that is not a figure that we are proud about. That's not something to be happy about. Now, the fact of the matter is that, we are a male-centric, a patriarchal society. And we are all social beings. We are the products of our environments. So irrespective of our designations, of our positions, we all carry in our minds certain attitudes which we have imbibed from our environments. Many of these attitudes, many of these beliefs are biased, and they are not encouraging of the feminine gender. So what happens is that working at a subconscious level, these biases will translate themselves into actions, into decisions, into actions that then impact the rest of society, and that then actions which discriminate on the basis of sex, so sexist discrimination. If we look at our history, then anthropologists tell us that, prehistorical records tell us that society was first quite egalitarian in nature. It was a gender equal society. But then gradually as it developed, and gradually agricultural society, then industrial society, then the concept of private property, moving from communal ownership to private ownership, all those things created a patriarchal society which became established over a period of time. If you look at the writings of Aristotle in the West, and then we look at the writings of Confucius in the East, and then we pick up ancient writings of our own country, we find a lot of similarity. What do they all say? They say that woman is inferior to man, that man is intellectually superior, and that woman's value in society is dependent on her loyalty to a man. Confucius, in fact, is the one who says, and we have a similar belief in our country, that a woman should always be under the guidance of her father when she is young, and protection of her husband when she is married, and then protection of her son once she is old. So all her life, she is under some male protection. She's never an autonomous being. And these beliefs over the centuries were passed on from generation to generation till they became part of our cultural belief system, until we all started thinking that this was the way it was supposed to be, that this was natural. But in the 19th century, these beliefs began to be challenged by feminist scholars. And in the 20th century, you all know about Simone de Beauvoir, who talked about the social construction of women. So from that time onwards, we have the reform movement in our country where child marriage, widow remarriage, sati system, lack of education for women, all these things were addressed at that time. So that struggle which started for the rights of women in the 19th century are ongoing. They are existing even today. And a lot of this happens through the socialization of young boys and girls as they grow up, through the family, through their schools, through the different organizations, social, whether they are social or they are religious or they're economic or they're legal. All these organizations are patriarchal in nature, and they impact us and impose a certain belief system. Now, gender is actually, what is gender? It is about the relations between man and woman. It is between the two different genders and what kind of society we want to make. Whether it is a free society, whether it allows for the potential of a person to develop, all that, the kind of structure that we want to give to our society, that is what gender is about. So with those few words, I will stop here. But before I stop, I would like to mention two young women, Dr. Sheminaz Banu and Dr. Shaista Masih. Both of them highly educated. Both of them have done their masters and then they earned their PhD from a premier university of our country, the Allahabad University. And both of them are continuing to work in this area. And nothing makes a teacher more happy. Nothing gives more satisfaction to a teacher than to see her students doing well and continuing to contribute in an area which needs dedication, which needs contributions. Because what is feminism? It's a collective issue. It's not the effort of one person. It is a collective issue. Why? Because you are trying to counter a belief system which is centuries old and which is so embedded in our thinking that all change is difficult, is challenging, and is very slow. So every contribution in that area matters. And these two young women are also part of that collective move. So I'm very proud of them. And I'd also like to say thank you to the organizers of this conference, doing a great job working in this area. Thank you very much for inviting me. And I wish you luck in all your future endeavors. And I hope you continue to organize conferences like these because they are very, very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. It means a lot. I want to tell everyone that Parmar ma'am is the reason behind we all are in the field of gender studies, whether it is me, Dr. Shaista Masih, Nirja Sasdev ma'am, Dr. Anupma, and there are many others. So ma'am, it is all because of you. And we are also privileged to have you as a mentor, as a supervisor. Dr. Shaista, you want to say anything?
Yes, ma'am. It is such a, ma'am, first of all, good evening. It's such a nice feeling to see you after a long time. And it is such an honor to speak in front of you. I mean, this is a feeling that is just, I cannot express that how it feels to see you and to speak in front of you, a mother figure and a favorite teacher, an excellent supervisor who just polished us to so whatever we are today, it is Dr. Parmar has a big hand in that. What can I say? I mean,
and ma'am, we both are working from a long time. And me and Shaista, we are both are like working from a long time, ma'am, on the first footstep of Edison and Steele. Maybe one day we will also be famous like them.
Thank you very
ma'am,
much.
we need your blessings. We need your blessings. I haven't been to Allahabad since a long time, so I'll just come over to hug you when I'm in Allahabad next. Just miss you a lot.
My blessings are always there for you. Any good work you do, my blessings are always there, and I'm very happy to have been part of this effort. Thank you again for your kind
Thank you so
words.
much. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Bye-bye, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was such a delight to listen to you, a treat for the ears. And no wonder I have been listening to the heaps of praises which were, said about you, which were poured on you by Dr. Shaminaz. From past 1 week, we have been discussing that you are going to be a speaker in this session and how privileged we all are to hear from you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for enlightening us. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Shaminaz and Dr. Shaista, for the kind introduction of our wonderful speaker. So now we move on to the next speaker, who, though a student of the eminent speaker, is in herself a very, very erudite scholar. Dr. Shaminaz Bano she's a literature enthusiast, a bilingual poet, short story writer, translator, editor, critic, and lecturer of English. Dr. Shaminaz has authored more than 45 and authored, edited, and of course translated more than 45 international books. Her short stories, The Jasmine Girl and Other Stories, and Virtual versus Real World and Other Stories, are immensely loved by people. She is founder and president of Progressive Literary and Cultural Society. With 21 years of teaching experience, Dr. Shamanaz is at present working as a lecturer of English in Rashri Tandon Mahila Mahavidyalaya, Prayagraj, India. And she has also worked as a visiting faculty for Fergana State University, Uzbekistan. She has received awards both nationally and internationally, and they have been really prestigious awards recognizing her ability and contribution to the society. She has presented many papers in different conferences, and we are so privileged to hear from her on this sensitive topic today. Dr. Shamanaz, the floor is all yours now.
Thank you so much, Mansi, for such wonderful words. Manju, are you there? Manju will be presenting my PPT because I have some technical issue. So I want to introduce Manju
I
also.
am here, but
Manju is a trilingual poet. She writes short story writer. She writes in English, Hindi, and Spanish. And currently, she is working in Spain. She visits India every year because of contract. So Manju will be presenting my PPT, and the title of my PPT: Gender Stereotype: The World of Transgender. Now there is Manju. Can you start? A
give
friend,
me 1 minute
a
because
younger
it's
sister
not
of mine.
allowing me to share the screen. I'll try one more time, okay? Give me 1 minute. I'll leave the
Okay.
meeting and join again. Give me 1 minute.
Okay, we can I can start then. One of the classes which has been very less discussed in history is in the section transgender, which also need attention. Joseph, please don't make me the co-host because it is disturbing. I have to admit, and then it keeps on coming on the screen. So we in our session also we have not discussed about transgender. The unfortunate thing is that they have been harassed and have been a subject of joke since their evolution. Transgender is an umbrella term for people whose gender identity, expression, or behavior differs from the sex they were assigned at birth. Like for gender identity, a person internal sense of being male, female, or something else. Or the second is gender expression, how a person communicate their gender identity through behavior, clothing, hairstyle, voice, or body characteristic. Now, transgender people may identify as trans men or trans women, non-binary, genderqueer, gender non-conforming, agender or bigender. Some transgender people may want to transition from one gender to another and may seek medical assistance to help them align their body with their identified sex or gender. This may include taking hormones, having surgery, changing their pronoun, or changing their appearance. Transgender can also refer specifically to a person whose gender identity is opposite rather than different from the sex the person has or was identified as having a birth. So there are lots of things related with it, like we have trans feminine, a term which is binary or non-binary. Then transgender people may have face a variety of challenges, including a hostile political environment and disproportionate physical, mental, and economic effect from the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2020, 44 transgender people were killed in the United States.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yes,
Can
Manju.
you see the screen?
Yeah. Please, next slide. Mental and economic effort from the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2020, 44 transgender people were killed in the United States, which was the most violent year for the community since the Human Rights Campaign began keeping record in 2023. Manju, next. The legal status of transgender people varies by jurisdiction. Many transgender people experience transphobia or violence or discrimination towards transgender people in the workplace, in assessing public accommodation, and in healthcare. In many places, they are not legally protected from discrimination. Several cultural events are held to celebrate the awareness of transgender people, including Transgender Day of Remembrance an International Transgender Day of Visibility, and the transgender flag is a common transgender pride symbol. The transgender community in India has a long history in Hindu mythology. Like Justice K.S. Radhakrishna noted in his decision that seldom our society realizes or cares to realize the trauma, agony, and pain which the members of transgender community undergoes, nor appreciate the innate feeling of the members of the transgender community, especially or of those whose mind and body disown their biological self. They are often called as hijras, they have faced structural discrimination, including not being able to obtain driving license and being prohibited from assessing various social benefits. It is common for them to be banished from communities. Though the transgender community has faced various kind of atrocity for many centuries, times are changing and people are coming out and supporting the LGBT right or transgender right to the fullest. It was Ismat Chugtai who was the first writer in India who wrote a short story, Liha Quilt, in which she has portrayed the sensitivities of homosexual. And if we look at the history, we find that famous temples of Khajuraho built in ancient time have such structure. There are many mythical characters in Hinduism who were transgenders or have changed their gender to third gender, like Shikhandi in Mahabharata. Even Arjuna, one of the Pandavas, disguised himself as a third gender for 1 year when he was in exile. Manju, next. During Mughals' time, transgender was kept to look after queens in the harem, but the British Raj criminalized homosexuality and heterosexuality under Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code, which entered into force in 1861. However, in April 24, the Supreme Court of India declared transgender to be third gender in Indian law. So there are various laws now, because today we have paucity of time. So I want to discuss about some important transgenders who have acclaimed themselves in India. I want to discuss about the lives of transgender who have established in India in various fields. But first, it was Shashi Tharoor, our congressman, who introduced a bill for the repeal of Section 377 on 18 December 2015, but it was rejected. But due to his effort, many other activists from all over the world, India, the Supreme Court agreed to refer the section of 377 validity to a large bench in January 2018. So now they have been recognized by the law of India. So this was a landmark victory for transgender. Now we see many transgender excelling themselves in various fields. The success of Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi is one such fine example. Next, Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi, the first Mahamandaleshwar. In 2008, Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi became the country's first transgender to represent Asia Pacific at the United Nations at the Assembly. She spoke of the plight of sexual minority. I quote, people should be more human-like. They should respect us as human and consider our rights as transgender. I quote, unquote. But her childhood was scared by abuse. She is a social activist who founded Astitva Trust in 2007 for the welfare of the trans community. She is also the founder of Kinnar Akhada that created history by taking the first Snahi Snan at Kumbh Mela, Allahabad in 2019. She was the Mahamandaleshwar of Kinnar Akhada. And she was also a contestant of popular reality show Bigg Boss in 2011. Next, Manju. Now the next is Jyotika Mandal. Next. Jyotika Mandal, the first Bengali trans woman who was a member of judicial panel of a civil court and a social worker from West Bengal, India. At an age of 2019, Joyita Mandal, not Jyotika. Joyita Mandal became the first judge as she was appointed at Lok Adalat in North Bengal in October 2017. While closely working for transgender rights organization, Mandal got inspired to pursue a degree in law. She comes from a traditional Hindu household and suffered a lot of discrimination because of her gender identity. She is a school dropout and she has to struggle very hard and has to leave her family. She moved to Islampur in Uttar Dinajpur district and worked for the upliftment of transgender community. In 2010, she was the first trans person from her district to get a voter ID. She also started her organization Dinajpur Notun Alo, which is a Bangla word for Dinajpur New Light, that is currently reaching out to and helping thousands of people in her district. She is a member of transgender community of West Bengal and work for the welfare and development of the community. In 2015, she was involved with other in setting up a home for older people who were HIV positive and forming patient welfare committee. On 8th July 2017, she became the first transgender judge of a Lok Adalat from West Bengal, India. Next. Now, Satya Shri Sharmila. Next, Manju. First, she is the first transgender lawyer. Satya Shri Sharmila is India's first transgender lawyer, as the Langba movement for India's transgender community occurred when, in a ceremony held at Madras High Court in 2021, Satya Shri Sharmila was enrolled with the Bar Council of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry, making her India's first transgender lawyer, shunning the stereotype typical mindset behind. She set an example by pursuing law so that she can fight against the injustice. She was also she became the subject for to torture abuse on the account of her gender, but she being graduate from LLB from Salem Central Law College in 2007, she enrolled with Bar Council for over a decade, and as her enrollment of in the Madras High Court, she also and she is enrolled in the Madras High Court. She also hoped that there would soon be a transgender High Court judge. Next, Dr. Manabi Bandyopadhyay, the first transgender college principal. Assigned male at birth, Manabi Bandyopadhyay has a gender realignment surgery in 2003. In 2005, she became India's first transgender to have acquired a PhD in Bengali literature. On 7th June, Bandyopadhyay was appointed the first transgender college principal of Krishnanagar Women's College in West Bengal. And in 1995, she has also published the first transgender magazine, Ob Mana, which means subhuman. About her struggle, she says, I quote, "My father was never happy with my femininity and he always taunted me, but I never gave up. It has been a long struggle for me and I have overcome it somehow. Currently, she is a professor and also has become the first transgender person in India who has completed a Doctor of Philosophy, that is PhD. She has taught as an associate professor in Bengali at Vivekananda Chattopakshiyi Mahavidyalaya. Next, Padmini Prakash, first transgender news anchor. Padmini Prakash is an India's news anchor, actress, and transgender rights activist. She became the first openly trans person to work as a news anchor in India when she joined the Tamil channel Lotus News channel on 15 August 2024. She is also a classically trained dancer who has previously taught Bharatnatyam. She has acted in Tamil soap operas and participated in transgender beauty pageant. She was crowned Miss Transgender India in 2009 and Miss Transgender Tamil Nadu in 2007. Next. K. Prithika Yashini, first trans police officer. The first transgender police officer in Tamil Nadu, K. Prithika Yashini, fought a legal battle to be identified as transgender on her application form to join the police force. Today, she is a sub-inspector in Chennai. Moving ahead of all odds, Prithika Yashini became the first transgender sub-inspector, though she was declared failed by 1 mark. Nevertheless, she got her score reevaluated in the physical examination and came out clear with flying colors. Next. Mumtaz, first transgender to contest election. Mumtaz, a social worker, is the first transgender who came out to contest election in Punjab from Bahujan Samaj Party, which is BSP. She contested election from Bucho Mandi constituency and has been working with BSP for 11 years. Next. Shabnam Mosi. She is popular as Mosi means aunt in India. She is first transgender to be elected. Shabnam Mosi Banu is an Indian politician and Hijra activist. She became the first transgender person to be elected to public office in India as a member of Legislative Assembly. Born as a transgender, Shabnam Mosi has taken a rough road in life. She contested election from Sohagpur constituency in district Shahdol, Madhya Pradesh. Though she was not supported by her family, but she tried her best to establish her in her life, and she has learned almost 12 different languages. Next. Shabi, first transgender naval officer. Shabi joined the Marine Engineering Department of the Eastern Naval Command around 8 years ago. However, when she underwent the reassignment surgery in 2016 in Delhi. After the surgery, she joined the naval base in Visakhapatnam. She in 2016, after waiting for a while, she was born as a male and known as MK Giri. She told ANI in an interview that when the Navy found out about her sex reassignment surgery, no one has objected or discriminated against her. She joined the Marine Engineering Department of the Eastern Naval Command 7 years ago. Although uncomfortable in the body she was born, it took her a while to muster the courage to come out as a transgender. And when she did, the Navy refused to help her. So she has to face a lot of struggle. She recalls her experience. I quote, "I was kept in a psychiatric ward for 6 months and was mentally harassed. The doctor tried to prove that I was mentally unfit to serve in the Navy, but they failed," she claimed. After being discharged from Navy psychiatric ward on August 12, she resumed her service as a woman, though it took a while for people around her to get used to the fact that she is a woman now. Next, Jia Das, first transgender OT technician. Kolkata's Jia Das, we have 4 transgender achiever from Kolkata, from West Bengal. Kolkata's Jia Das became the first transgender operation theater or OT technician. Earlier, Jia had even danced on a gunpoint in Uttar Pradesh. I quote, "For young people, it is very important to get a livelihood. Almost 1.5 years back, we organized an event called Satrangi. During that event, a health entrepreneur said that if he will take 2 members of the transgender community and train them as OT technician." Today, Jia Das is the first transgender OT technician in the country. Next, the 4th transgender is also from West Bengal. Nitasha Biswas, first transgender beauty pageant winner. Nitasha Biswas is India's first transgender beauty pageant winner, crowned in 2017. She won the Miss Trans Queen India in 2017. In her speech, she said that she was discriminated against because of her gender at work. Since childhood, Nitasha Biswas, winner of the first beauty pageant for transgender in the country, knew she was different from the other, whether it was home or in school. Nitasha recalled being asked to do things boys were made to do that she has no interest. In school, she would lock herself in the bathroom and she was forced to play football on the field. Even she was bullied a lot. Having a tumultuous childhood, she changed her identity when she came to Delhi. Now, in 2017, Nitasha won the Miss Trans Queen India beauty pageant and sees herself becoming a politician someday. Next, Ither Bharati, first transgender pastor. Ither Bharati is India's first transgender pastor who now even conducts weddings. She is India's first transgender pastor from the Evangelical Church of India, ECI, branch in Chengalpattu, India. She goes by Pastor Bharati. She was born in Tuticorin as the 3rd child and first son to a Hindu family, and she was named as Bharat Raja. But because of her certain feature, she was constantly taunted by classmate and neighbor for being feminine. As she herself says, I quote, I became a loner and could not even complete class 12. She told Times of India. Tired of family ridicule, she ran away to Chennai, where she joined a group of transgender people. A sister from a local church took pity on her, and then she converted to Christianity at the age of 12 and was baptized in the year 2000. Uh, Pastor Bharti began her transition in 2007. She has said that her proudest moment was when her niece called her auntie, despite admonishment from other elders in her family to call her uncle. She struggled throughout her education before finding a path as pastor. Now, next, Manju. Ganga Kumari, first transgender constable. Ganga Kumari is Rajasthan first transgender constable. She joined the police force in April 2018 after a long legal battle with the government. She could have become the country's first transgender to join the police force, but fate has other plans for 24-year-old Ganga Kumari. Following a protracted 2 years battle in the Rajasthan High Court, Kumari became the first transgender to be inducted into Rajasthan Police. The Rajasthan High Court on Monday has directed the Rajasthan High Court has directed the police department to appoint Ganga Kumari as a constable after official denial her post due to her gender and reported lack of clarity of rule were cleared in 2015. Terming it as a case of gender bias, Justice Dinesh Mehta asks the force to appoint Kumari within 6 months from the date of the order, along with the notional benefit from the year 2015. Next, Khushi Sheikh, first transgender model. She is a dancer and a model, Khushi Sheikh. Growing up as a trans person in the western Indian city of Mumbai, it wasn't easy for her. As a child, she as a family was ostracized by society. She has to beg on the highway and at bus stop to make a living, and often faced harassment and abuse. But none of this stopped her from pursuing her dream to become a dancer and actress. Now she is a popular dancer and social media influencer and has millions of fans around the world. Next, Apsara Reddy, transgender politician. Apsara Reddy was born as Ajay Reddy, is an Indian trans woman politician and journalist. She was earlier inducted as national spokesperson of All India Anna Dravid Munnetra Kazhagam by former Chief Minister Jayalalitha in 2016. On 8 January 2018, Reddy became the first transgender person to hold office in the Congress. She returned to AIADMK and campaigned as its star campaigner in 2021 state election. Manju, next. Now, Six Pack Band. It is a transgender band. Six Pack Band is the first transgender Indian pop musical band with 6 individuals, as the name suggests. The media has remarked that they are the first music group of all Hijra performer, with Hijra translated as transgender. The band member are Asha Jagtap, Komal Jagtap, Ravina Jagtap, Fida Khan, Bhavitka Patel, and Chandini Suvarnakar. Each of them has shared biological information about themselves. In the there are some transgender activists. I will be discussing about some transgender activists. Because let me talk about 1 or 2 points about the band also. The band has even won the popularity of band is that even the Yash Raj film have taken note of it, and the band has even won the Cannes Grand Prix Glass Lion Award in 2016. Brooke Monty has featured the band in their advertisement. In a 2020 episode, the podcast De Tali Life of Transgender profiled also the band. Now, next are some transgender activists. Grace Banu. Manju, next. Grace Manu is an Indian software engineer who is a Dalit and a transgender activist. She was the first transgender person to be admitted to an engineering college in the state of Tamil Nadu. She lives in the Thoothukudi district, Tamil Nadu. She is the founder and director of Trans Right Now Collective, which centers on the Dalit, caste, Bahujan political party and Adivasi population. She has started several online campaigns and voiced certain and questions on the death of a fellow trans woman who burned to death in Chennai. She has organized protests and became a legal process to give transgender people the opportunity to participate in Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission, that is TNPSC, recruitment exam. In 2013, a court order opened the TNPSC exam to transgender people. She has been critical of the 2019 Transgender Person, which is Protection of Right Bill. She was the recipient of the first Transgender Award awarded by Tamil Nadu Government and Social Welfare and Women Empowerment Department. The award is intended to recognize transgender people for their contribution to society. She is has been awarded the Best Transgender Award. Now next, LGBT activist Vishal Pinjani is an LGBTQIA plus right activist, motivational speaker, bookseller, and publisher. The two-time TEDx speaker, he is a poet who frequently attends literature and poetry festival. He is the current title holder, Mr. Gay World India 2023, which he earned on 5th October 2023. He was inarguably a favorite during the event with his extensive engagement with community-related issue in his hometown and in the state. He is also a transgender activist and has supported many transgender. Through the pageant, he said that he would get a chance to highlight the issue of transgender and homosexual men in rural India as issue of the LGBTQ community are often perceived as only urban issue. He has represented India at the Mr. Gay World Beauty pageant held in Cape Town, South Africa. So, despite the 2014 Supreme Court judgment, transgender community continue to be the target of harassment and humiliation. However, the achievement of these transgender people is a proof that the barrier are slowly breaking. To conclude, we can say that one of the most marginalized class, transgender, has struggled hard to reach a respectable position in our society. They are still striving hard to achieve equal status with superior class. Government as well as non-government organizations who are working hard to eradicate the stigma of inequality and imbalance existing in our society. Hope one day we will build a society which will rest on the principle of equality and fraternity. We as a human being, let us pledge for equal rights for all, irrespective of gender, whether it is a male, female, or transgender.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shamanaz, for this exhaustive coverage of the struggles of transgenders and their achievements, irrespective of all the biases the society has against them. Some of them have taken up, are on a mission against, all the biases and to show that they can do anything which any other gender is capable of. Thank you for this very insightful lecture on the transgender community. And definitely in the future, we will have equality for all, irrespective of gender. So do we proceed to questions now or towards the end of the session? How do you like it to be?
Yes. We have time. I think we can take some questions.
Sure. Now the floor is open to the audience. If they have any questions, any suggestions, anything they would like to share, any insights, you're most welcome. You can unmute yourself and speak up, or you may also write down your questions, your suggestions in the chat box.
Hello, this is Sanju Paul.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Audible? Okay.
Yes, you are. Please ask your question.
This was a very detailed and very good presentation by Shamanaz. Congratulations and thanks. So I had one query actually. What I have heard is that in these transgenders also, it's an irony that they practice a fierce kind of casteism in them. Is that true, Shaminaz?
Yes, ma'am, they are not totally accepted. Still, though law has granted them equality, but still they are not totally accepted by uh, the society.
No,
Either,
Shaminaz, I have a different question.
okay,
Their acceptance is not there. That is a
Hmm.
widely acknowledged fact. But between the transgenders, they practice casteism, they are also divided into various castes, and the positions held of their mutts and everything is dependent upon their caste. The higher caste transgenders are awarded the higher position, and so on. And
Ma'am,
the lower ones do the menial jobs.
is that so? Because I'm not so familiar with this. Because
Because
like Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi, yes, Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi, she was the Mahamandaleshwar in Allahabad, Kinnara Akhara, so she belonged to higher class.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe this is also one of, because just now, ma'am, this is an area of research which is not so much of research. One of my senior, Shamim sir, has done lots of work in the field of this transgender. I have just started, so I'm not so familiar with this aspect. So you have given a good suggestion. Next time I will also do research in this also. So can you share some insight, like you were saying? Now I realize that Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi, because she belongs to the Brahmin class, that's why she was elected as
Yes.
transgender. Manju,
Yes.
do you
Yes,
have
that's
the
what
same
I have heard.
opinion? Because
I also have noticed this
maybe, ma'am.
pattern. If you see, the pattern, you can see the caste there, like Verma, Tripathi, and all these. So that's very much clearly visible. Only the thing, because they are being transgenders, we are more focused on transgender battle. But other part, it's happening. I mean, you can see if they are pastor or maybe they are going into some field of work. The caste, they basically coming from higher caste where they have been, or maybe the family background is such that the family members were able to access the education and they have other facilities, so they're only fighting with the transgender level. They don't have to fight for other status thing or maybe education or maybe wealth or something else, or maybe they're supported in other sectors, other things, but they have to fight or overcome this one battle. But if you see, because I have observed in the areas where I have been living, the people, those who are coming from maybe Dalit background or maybe OBC background or maybe SC/ST background, they're still fighting. They're not recognized, they're not accepted, and they're not able to reach those organizations where they are being accepted and given some good positions. So I agree what Sanju ma'am is saying, that this is happening. Caste is not
Ma'am,
going even
Sanjuma,
from
I have
there
not
also.
researched so much. Next time I'll keep in mind to research this also.
I think this also should come out whether it's true or not. So I hope you will work on it.
I
Sanju
have
ma'am,
an question here in
just
that.
I want Mansi, just I want to answer Sanju ma'am one. Ma'am, the world of transgender were very closed, was very close, very secluded. Now they have come out on the world, so we don't know much about them. Now we
Yeah,
are
true that.
learning, so we are discovering them. So as soon as we will discover more about them, we will come to know more realities about them. Okay, Mansi, go ahead.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Shamina. Thank you, Manju.
An interesting
Thank you, Mansi.
observation in this regard which I have come across is that there is a deep intersection between the way casteism is prevalent in the society and the transgender community too is affected by it. So much so that if you're coming from a higher caste, you cannot reveal it to the society that you are a transgender, because it
Right.
will be it will be very difficult for that family or maybe that community in particular to accept it. And so the people ironically coming from the higher caste, the transgenders, are not able to express their genders, they are not able to express their identities too, and what to talk about the other castes. So it is they are discriminated in other way that they cannot, they have to hide many times their identities. And just in case that they have to reveal it, they are put to shame by the society, or maybe by their own family too. So for ironically, in this, the higher is your caste, the more difficult it is for you to accept your gender, because the society will question the family rather than the person, or and because herein nobody can decide the gender. It is something which is very natural. It comes through a biological, say, a process. It's about how the sex is determined, how you fall in that particular category. But it is very difficult for the people coming from the higher castes to deal with such such situations, because they are not accepted in the society. Contrary to that, it is easier for the people coming from the so-called lower castes, or maybe how society has differentiated them. But now what the struggle is more towards acceptance of their identities as transgenders, rather than the caste system. So of course caste system affects them, it deeply affects them, but they are more inclined towards their rights right now, because if a community is accepted, it automatically gets its rights. So when we talk about women's rights, there are women who are together in it, irrespective of any discrimination or biases which are prevalent in the society, in the name of caste, in the name of race, in the name of religion. So when women come together, they come together as a community, and same is happening right now in the transgender community too. Thank you so much
Mansi,
for
hello, Mansi, I would like to interfere here because uh, even if you say the
Sanju
women
ma'am, Sanju Paul ma'am, one request, please open your video.
Oh, actually, actually, it's very cold over here, and I'm in the bed, so I'm not presentable right now.
Okay,
So
okay. Grant.
yeah, let me go like this. But I differ from Mansi, what perspective she has on women also. There is difference. There is casteism among women also, The higher caste, so-called higher caste women practice untouchability and many other things with the lower caste women. So you can't treat them with the same stick.
No, I just said it in the context that when it comes to women's rights, these things take a back seat. I'm not saying that that these things are not prevalent in the society. Yes, of course, when we are in the mainstream, like when we are playing our roles as individuals, it is different. But when it comes to women's right, they maybe by default they have to get together. Yes, please, Manju ma'am, would you like to share your point of view, or should we go ahead with the with another question?
Well, if you have time problem or maybe time management issue, we can go ahead. There is no debate over this. But I too, I have different opinion on this, regarding men also or women also, or maybe like you were talking about transgender rights and their acceptance in the society. I have observed that literally, and it's the same thing. The very first problem is the people coming from lower caste are still struggling to come out from that particular zone, and they have another barrier to come over, that is transgender or maybe the women. It applies in both the cases. But anyway, we can go ahead because we cannot stop with one topic over here. Maybe some other time. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much, ma'am. So we have another question from Kolade
Mansi,
Sivish.
actually, I will answer in the WhatsApp. Let us have a second speaker, because today we have to wind up early, as directed by Nikki.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. So introducing our next speaker to you, we have Dr. Shaista Masih. She's a learned scholar of English literature with more than 7 years of teaching experience. Her research specialization is in Black feminism. Dr. Shaista is an acknowledged writer, poet, and editor. Her notable editing work is Uzbekistan India Scientific Cultural Cooperation, intersection of national and universal values. She has presented many research papers, and she's also on the advisory board of Progressive Literary and Cultural Society. We welcome you, ma'am. Looking forward to hear from you.
Dr. Shaista, you are muted.
Am I audible now?
Yes, please, ma'am, you're audible.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here again to share whatever I have in my limited knowledge about Black feminism. So this evening, Dr. Shaminaz presented on transgenders, and since I have my research on Black feminism under Professor Parmar's supervision, so I would like to present my lecture here. I would like to start by a statement by Bell Hooks, who said there is much evidence substantiating the reality that race and class identity creates difference in quality of life, social status, and lifestyle that take precedence over the common experience. Women share difference that are rarely transcended. The motives of materially privileged, educated white women with a variety of career and lifestyle options available to them must be questioned when they insist that suffering cannot be measured. The question arises that when there is no uniform culture, how can there be uniform experiences for all women? As the UN Decade for Women was coming to an end, women in developing countries had understood that global sisterhood could never exist. Feminism had to become flexible enough to include every race, class, and cultural identity of women without claiming a common definition of their lives. So in Nairobi conference, it was declared that feminism constitutes the political expression of the concerns and interest of the women from different religions, class, nationalities, and ethnic background. There is and must be a diversity of feminism responsive to the different needs and concerns of different women and defined by them for themselves. Race and class constitute very important aspect of human life. In case of women, it is not only their sex that determines their position, it is primary or secondary and status in the society, but also their class and race. Jennifer Baumgartner and Amy Richards informed that the editors of Reader's Companion to U.S. Women History, they list 7 major types of feminisms based on identity, and Black feminism is one of them. Black feminism deals with the history and experiences of Black women, the history that began with the transportation of slaves through the Middle Passage and continued through the slavery in the United States, a most horrible history of brutalities ever visited on human beings. White feminists had complained of being barred from the main stage of society, but Blacks' concern was the question of existence itself, of the possibility of the elimination from the domain of humanity. That is why Alice Walker coined the term womanist to differentiate Black women from white women, Black women from white feminists. To explain feminism in its various meanings and implication was the recognition that feminism had failed to consider the lives of women. Although a womanist too was one who advocated women's rights, feminism implicated the racist and classist face of white feminism. It did not exclude men, realizing their importance both as children and family members. Indeed, womanism understood and acknowledged the bond between man and women. It was also a recognition of the strength of Black women along with their ability to survive a history which was horrifying and sexually extremely exploitative. There have always been differences in the lives of women belonging to various races and classes, and these differences will continue. However, if gender is examined in the light of these social divisions and perspectives, these differences become more clear. Sandra Harding claims that there are no gender relations, but only gender relations as constructed by and between classes, races, and cultures. In the case of Black women, it was a long history of slavery that impacted and enhanced that difference. It was Sojourner Truth, a Black woman and one of the first Black feminists to draw attention to the plight of Black women. In 1850, in the Women's Rights Convention, she bared her breast to prove that she was also a woman. It was inconceivable for a white woman to do such a thing, but truth did, since she, like all the slave women, had undergone and faced the extremities of life. She said, "Look at me, look at my arm. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns. I have borne 5 children. I have seen them all sold into slavery. And when I cry with the mother's grief, none but Jesus here, and ain't I a woman?" In this dramatic way, she asked how white, educated, middle-class women's experience could be similar to the experience of women who had suffered tortures, experienced mental traumas, rapes, beatings, who had plowed, planted, and born children like animals. However, Black women couldn't be organized under this banner till second half of the 20th century. But unofficially and informally, these instinct of togetherness and sisterhood had always existed in Black women. The reason might be found in their past, that they had to remain united to survive the dark era of slavery. Due to those 200s of slavery, they learned to understand instinctively, even in silence, each other's pains. So in 1790s, Northern free Black women formed a society for mutual relief, self-education, and abolition of slavery. Identity politics and feminism contributed to the development of Black feminism as a separate branch, but apart from the diversity of experiences of the Black women in the world and the racism in the feminist movement, there was another compelling reason for the emergence of the Black feminist movement. This was the sexism of Black women. So what was the sexism of Black women as experienced by them? A shared sense of history and oppression. It bound men and women with a special connection. During slavery, they tried to organize their community in order to lessen the harsh and ugly effects of slavery on the family. Free African American women would buy slaves in order to free them. They would often migrate to North to find jobs and enable them to find freedom for husbands and children. The secret transportation of slaves that came to be known as Underground Railroad provided thousands of slaves the boon of freedom. Harriet Tubman, she was a fugitive slave, and she helped her first, in 1850, she helped her first slave to escape. In September 1850, Tubman was made the official conductor of the Underground Railroad. She knew all the routes and strategies to flee from south to freedom. Research indicates that Rochester became the main station of Underground Railroad with the help of Harriet Tubman. In 1870, 15th Amendment of the US Constitution enfranchised Black men. This obviously brought some bitterness in the relation between Black men and women, rights activists, but Black women rejoined this as victory of their men. They didn't protest. They were not the country through their men. They attended meetings and discussed and advised men on. Throughout the post lack of educational opportunities, underfunding of African American schools, and segregation were some obstacles they had to contend with. The lynching of Black men took on alarming proportions during the post-Reconstruction period. The Ku Klux Klan spread terror in the Black community by lynching Black men and raping Black women. Black women were deeply involved in anti-lynching movements. They campaigned and even met the president. Women like Ida Well Barnett and Mary Church Terrell were the major figures in anti-lynching movement. In 1909, the National Association for Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, was formed, and women such as Margaret Bush Wilson, Althea Semmons, and Jane Fairfax played leading roles in it. In the field of education, women worked towards the integration of segregation in higher education. Educationalists such as Autherine Lucy and Edith Jones, they made great efforts to advance Black people in higher education. The civil rights movement would not have occurred if Rosa Parks had not had the courage to speak up for her rights. All these concerted efforts make it clear that for Black women, race was priority, and it was the issue that initially sparked their feminism. The Black Power movement grew out of the civil rights movement in 1960s and early 1970s. It was a series of efforts by Black Americans to gain control over political and social institutions that affected their lives through the development of Black nationalism and Black separatism in politics, economics, and society. The Black Power movement had under its umbrella a variety of groups, such as Students' Nonviolent Coordination Committee, the Congress of Racial Equality, the Black Muslims. Bitterness crept into relation between Black and men and women during Black Power movement. In 1964, when the Black Power movement was on the rise, Stokely Carmichael of SNCC was asked about the position of women in NCCC, and he said the only position for women in NCCC was prone. Black women, Black women tried to understand the frustration of Black men by going as far as justifying the battering of Black women by Black men. R.T. Seal, a Black female panther, said that Black men in our community are being castrated. Black men have to turn to their females for the release of their frustration. Black men beat Black women because they ain't sure who should be blamed for their frustration, because Black males are made to feel less than a man. Soon, typical gender rules were assigned to Black women in the Black Power movement. Men equated Black power with Black male and machismo that had nothing to do with women of the race. Civil rights activist E. White was told to help out in the kitchen with the regional Black student society while the regional Black student society meeting was going on. So all this discrimination on the basis of sex was tremendously hurtful and traumatic to women. So Black women feel betrayed because they stood side by side. Men and women stood side by side to suffer the atrocities of white people. When America's first Black newspaper, Freedom's Journal, published its first edition on May 16, 1827, its editorial wished to plead our own cause. At that time, Black women could have hardly foreseen that one day the cause of Black men and Black women in the community would be divided. Commenting on this aspect of the movement, Jerry H. Bryant wrote that during the decade or so, the Black power so provocative force on the American scene, African American imagery was dominated by a heavy male sensibility. It was thought that racism in America was destroying the manhood of Black males, so they were more harmed by it than women. Black women began to feel stifled in a system which did not acknowledge them. The time was ripe for the genesis of a movement that focused on Black women, the Black feminist movement. Some women refused to follow men 10 paces behind. Nikki Giovanni replied that, if that is what the Black man needs, I will never get far enough behind for him. I will never walk that slowly. Second thing that they were suffering from was white women and their racism. Feminism in 1970s and 80s failed to address the more profound problems of Black women. Black women couldn't relate to the plight of white women, which was quite different from theirs. To them, it was a typically white middle-class movement. Franz Beale analyzed the state of affairs in a document, Double Jeopardy. To be Black and female, white women's liberation movement is basically middle class. Very few of these women suffered the extreme economic deprivation that most Black women are subjected to day by day. This is a factor that most crucial to us. It is not an intellectual persecution alone. It is not an intellectual outburst for it. It is real. Black women disagreed with the statement that all women are suppressed. According to them, the race and class have their own effects on the lives of women. Different women undergo different degrees of exploitation and discrimination based on their race and class. Betty Friedman found that she as a woman made the bed shop for groceries, mashed slipcover materials, ate peanut butter sandwiches with her children, lay with her husband. She was afraid to ask the silent question, is this all? But no aspect of Black women's history matched the lifestyle and experiences that was mentioned by Friedan. They were simply not among those middle class. college-educated housewives. The white women's problem could never be theirs. While a white woman would want to leave behind her home for an honorable job, the black woman was already employed as a maid or a clerk or a babysitter or even a prostitute. She was, unlike the white woman, occupied in works that were tedious and limiting, that never helped her to use her brain, work that reminded her always of her history of slavery, because the condition and environment of work would be, in practical terms, not very different from the slavery times. Thus, the concept of working was liberating for white women, but it was merely a source of discrimination and exploitation for Black women. Suzanne Brown's Miller book on history of rape against our will, men and women and rape, published in 1975, further strained the tenuous bond between white feminists and Black women. The book studied in a racial light the 1955 Emmett Till murder in Mississippi and justified the murder. She said that white women had always been interested to Black women like forbidden fruit. That this attitude made Black women resentful and both hurt their sentiments and degraded them. The SNCC, which was a compound of various class, gender, and ethnic values, also widened the distance between Black and white women. While there was an intermingling of races in attempt to eradicate racism, the interest that Black women showed in white women was interpreted by their own women as an indication of rejection. Thus, the already existing divide between the two groups became more pronounced. So we see that Black feminism was rooted not only in the identity politics, not only in the gender issues, but also in the sexism of Black men and the racism of white women. So they were subjugated, they were suppressed on multi-tiered level. That is why they had to come up with a movement of their own. Thank you so much, everybody. I wanted to highlight the history of Black women so that they had to come up with a solution and they had to speak for themselves, because there was nobody to speak for them. There was nobody to show the world what they underwent, and still the plight was not over for them, even after a long time of civil war and post-reconstruction period. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Shaista, for such a penetrating and deep knowledge on how the women, because of their, say, color, have been subjected to more atrocities which have been inflicted upon them because of their gender alone. So do we have any questions for her? Yes, there are questions already written here. Should we take up them now, or should we discuss it them in the?
Yeah, and if there is time, I like to address the questions in briefly.
Sure, ma'am. So we already have a few questions here. My question, according to CRD, I cannot see the name. Many transgenders beg for money. How can one empower them financially?
No, for Shaista, if we are asking question, can I ask one question? Now it is Shaista's turn. The discussion is still going on transgender. Let us talk about Black women writer now, Black writers.
I have
sure,
to
please, Mansi, Sanju ma'am, can I ask one question from Shaista? Okay. Shaista, you have worked on Black women writer. Even Nirja ma'am has worked on Black women writer. Don't you think now the Black writing is the most powerful writing in the world, with writers winning Booker Prize, Nobel Prize like Toni Morrison, Maya Angelou, Chinua Achebe, Nadine Gordimer, Bol Soyinka, Alice Walker? Don't you think the reason behind is the sufferings that they have poured out in their writing, the suffering of the colonial world, colonization, which gives a cathartic effect. It's due to the cathartic effect of colonization, the suffering which they have undergone.
more of slavery than colonization, because the 200 or more than 200 years of slavery just suppressed their creativity for a long time. And now when they are writing, it is full of emotions, and it is a compact package of their history. There are always biographical elements present in their writings if you just try to read. That is why it is being coming out as so powerful.
Sanju ma'am, please go ahead.
Hello, you spoke very well, Shaista, and raised very good points. There is a book named Roots by Alex Haley. Have you gone through?
Yeah.
Yeah. That I think is the best book to understand something about the process of slavery.
Ma'am, there are so many books to understand the process. If you if you read the books by if you pick up any book by a Black writer, there are the evidences, and there are as I said, that there are biographical elements present, and no Black writer could write without of course they don't have the first-hand experiences, but there is in their collective subconscious, it's still there, and it is coming out of their pen. Even
but I prefer Roots Out of All, because it has got evidences, it has he has actually verified all those things, so I consider it to be the best. That's my
even
personal
if Jamaica Kincaid, so that also that is not a direct representation of slavery, but still she is talking about it in a covert way. So all the books by Black writers, or even all the colored writers, they have that impact of colonial times, and they have that impact of slavery times.
Yeah, Maya Angelou also we can count in that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Alice Walker, Maya Angelou.
Yes, Alice Walker also. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Do we have any other question for Dr. Shaista?
Kindly send your questions in the WhatsApp group so that I can address them in detail. Because of the constraints of time, we might not take up all the questions. So it's better if we keep on discussing in the group regarding the questions and the further implications of that. Because the racism and the sexism, it resonates to this time. We say that we are in 21st century and we are free from that. No, that's only theoretical. I mean, it still resonates. And so many of our sisters would be just relating with the experiences.
Shaista, there are so many Nobel Prize winners from Nigeria. There are some very great writers, and we also have many participants from Nigeria in this gender studies course.
That's why I'm saying that if they want to continue the discussion, and it will be a great opportunity to discuss and progress with that.
We have a participant here, Karina Grimes. As a psychologist, she writes in the chat box, I work and accompany transitions in teenagers. I learned a lot from the experience. Do we have Karina here? If we can have a minute or two from your experience and insights on how the teenagers are affected by the transition process. Karina, are you present? Okay, probably she cannot listen to. Would you like to take one or two questions, or should we wind up now? Tapshi, if you can please unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay. Karina, not Corine. Tapshi.
Hello, I am audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, so I asked a question in the chat box that what is this is actually not completely related to that topic asked, but I feel this question is relatable maybe because it's about empowerment, getting equal opportunity and all that for women. So I have this question in order to enrich my own point of view, that what is that true idea of claiming back power that got denied in past, like all, especially all the discrimination that women faced, black or any woman that people face. So how do they just incorporate this sense of empowerment into their system? um, what is the process, or what is this idea that um, that gave them this sense of empowerment? So this is
See,
my question.
what I feel that there cannot be a systematic way of organizing it, you know. So when we as a women, or even there are even men with us, they just go on supporting us, and we support each other, and we just form an invisible bond, you know. And we go on forming, and we just constitute an invisible kind of relation to each other, and we cannot say that first this happened and this then next that happened. So many of the things, they happen simultaneously, you know. And here we are standing with our own experiences, supporting each other. There was no definite kind of process, because uh, as a women, if we talk about their cultural differences and their class differences, they couldn't be organized under one umbrella. So different parts of world, there were different groups who were fighting for themselves, and today they are supporting each other. I'm not giving a blanket statement, but almost every group is supporting the other, fixing each other's crown. So I would say that no, there was no systematic organization of it. It was just a spontaneous process that started since last 200 years or 150 years, and here we are standing with each other. I might be wrong. If somebody wants to add it, I'm free to have the idea, listen to the idea. But this is what I think from what I know from my limited knowledge.
Mhm. Yes, I also have thought that this loss of power that women have experienced, or uh, also men who felt this sense of loss of power. So if we just think it on a realistic level, like if you don't have, if they don't didn't have that support, collective support, or any organization to team up, or any theory. I'm asking this basically on a psychological level, because it's my area of interest. That I feel like is this sense of loss of power is actually a kind of rebooting to to your realization of the power that you have, which gets doubled up. Like you had this, and this uh, timely or temporal sense of loss in realistic in our real life, day-to-day life, just gave us this push that you have it. Just that loss made us realize that we have to just feel it to get it back.
Yeah, of course. See, Mansi, only one difference is biological. Mentally, women are strong, and they have willpower to execute the task as men are doing. But at the same time, I would re-emphasize, with the help of women, with the help of men. Uh, we cannot just do away with the support of men. No, feminism cannot stand on its own without the support of men.
Yes, I
Okay,
agree with this. I
isn't it?
agree. Yes.
So the power was there. It was just suppressed, and now when we got support of each other, oh, it is as you said that it's coming out as double the power, isn't it?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
your presentation was very good. All the presentation. Thank you so much. This was just
So
a
much.
little query from my part, so I asked. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your point.
Should we take a few other questions, or should we wind up the session now? As the speakers like, would you like to answer these questions in the WhatsApp group, or would you like to take them right now?
I suggest we should continue it in the WhatsApp group and reply as per our convenience, isn't it, Dr. Shaminaz?
Yes, because today we were directed to wind up early. Actually, we already had a session before this. I think, Mansi, you were there in that session, because being not well, I was not there. So people are tired, and the thing is that today we have less participant because of that. Earlier it was reaching more than 65, 66, and today we have 35 to 38 participants. So
even I am under the weather today, so I would like to wind up. Yeah, I just had my medicine, and
we both are not well. Both the speakers are not well, so we should like.
But it's so glad to be a part of it. So glad to be talking to people and presenting what we know. Yeah, to share what
we have been praised by our supervisor. That is a big thing for us. Dr. Noor, are you there? Dr. Noor Fatima? Dr. Noor Fatima? I can see you. We have some Dr. Noor Fatima, Dr. Priya Sonikare, Dr. Ruchi ma'am. We would like to hear something from you people, our seniors. Maybe some technical issue.
I think
next week we have a participant presentation. So we don't want any like PPT or something. We want everybody to speak few lines about what they have learned throughout this
about their
5
experiences. About their experiences, or if they would like to share with us their experiences on the reference on the gender roles, like anything relating to it.
So next week you have your assessment session, and the PPTs will not be provided till then, till the time you're assessed. So only after that you will get to look at them. If the speakers want to share their PPTs, only then. So thank you for your time and patience, everyone. Thank you for attending the session. Though a good number of you must be tired. The speakers are already unwell, but they have taken out time and devoted energy to this session, which was a wonderfully presented session. We had a very senior speaker too, right in the beginning. So I, on behalf of all the participants, would like to thank us.
Mansi, Parmar ma'am never, she doesn't like to join online. It was just on the request of ours.
Oh, that's so nice of you to have arranged such a wonderful session with her. So we are indebted to you for this. Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you, everybody, for your time and patience. See
Thank you so much, Ms. Mansi.
Thank you very much. This is
for conducting. Thank you, Dr. Nikki. Thank you, Ms. Mansi, for conducting it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. How long do the participants need to speak?
Thank you
For the assessment? What is the time? Yes, is the presentation compulsory? Thank you, ma'am.
What are you saying? Please say it again.
There's a query in the chat box. Is the presentation compulsory for all? And what is the time? What is the speaker time for the
It is not
participants?
presentation, just a feedback. It is not presentation, just a feedback. Just 2 lines will also be appropriate. We want everyone to speak about. This will be a kind of reward for us. We have worked very hard. So this is kind of reward for us. Today, Sanju Paul ma'am has joined us from Himachal Pradesh.